Hi, everybody, and welcome to our Monday show. So, hope this one finds you well. We're sending this out pretty much across the platforms. So, we're on YouTube, Facebook. So, we have to be super duper nice and not say anything that could hurt anybody's feelings, which is going to be tough. We're also on X. We're on uh, Rumble, and we're in Getter as well. So look, I know you watching the different platforms. It doesn't matter where you're watching. Thanks for being here with me for the next 45 minutes or so. We'll see how it goes. There's as is always the way, you sort of figure what's the things that need to be talked about. That's the starting point, right? And for me, the main, well, there's a couple of things need to be talked about, and we're going to chat about them. We're going to talk about today Ukraine 3 years on. We're going to talk about that because, my God, has the propaganda been intense. We're going to talk about Ukraine. We're going to talk about the German elections and all that kind of means, or not, as the case may be. We're going to chat about that. And then I want to talk about a little bit, another example of the two-tier justice, which is very much a distinguishing characteristic of this Stormer nightmare regime from hell. So those are the things that I want to talk about. So hopefully you'll find them all interesting. I actually, I was just saying to my producer, Jed, before we kicked off, that really I should have been dressed in full Ukrainian clothing, shouldn't I? I mean, or at least at the very minimal, I should have had a little Ukrainian flag to wave. Wave a little Ukrainian flag, right? Save Ukraina, right? That's what we need to do, because today marks the third anniversary of something. At the top of my X page, if we bring up the top of my X page, I know that we're putting this one out, but I did pin a comment that I made because we keep being told about 3 years ago today. It was with regards to Russia. It was a total war. I think if we can bring up the comment, it should be right at the top of my. Of course, if this has been unpinned, it might not be. But it was a complete invasion. I think that's the term they used, isn't it? I can't. Was it there? If we can increase this one so that the world can see it, because I sure as hell can't. Yeah. Russia. Right. Let's just start off at the top. Russia did not launch a full-scale invasion against Ukraine, because if it did, there wouldn't be a Ukraine, right? Can we just all agree upon that? Because I am sick to the back teeth today of hearing this. It was a full-scale invasion. It was a full-scale invasion back 3 years ago today. Hi, Harry Johnson. No, it wasn't. If it had been a full-scale invasion, there would have been no Ukraine. Has anyone looked at what the Russian military resources are? Has anyone in the mainstream media, even for a second, thought about that? Because had they launched a full-scale invasion, as the BBC, Sky, and all of them have been putting out today, it would have been bye-bye Ukraine, bye-bye Kiev, no more Kiev. So it wasn't. So can we just at least start off by pointing that out? And in fact, here's another one that irritated me. This is Ursula von. Look at this sickening, stomach-churning virtue signaling. I mean, actually, they are virtually all dressed in the Ukrainian flag. There's our Ursula with the Ukrainian flag, and of course, the EU and Ukraine united, solidarity forever. What is it, Keir Starmer? He's done a 100-year commitment between the UK and Ukraine. Now, let's just remember a couple of things here, shall we, when we're at it? Back in the mid 2014, 15, 16s, whatever, around about then, the mainstream media regularly referred to Ukraine as one of, if not the most corrupt country in Europe, if not the world. That's their words, not mine. That's what they said about Ukraine back then. So how did Ukraine come from being one of the most venal, corrupt countries in the world to being the one that, well, we all have to admire? We all have to stand with the brave, heroic President Zelensky. Yeah, I mean, here, this is more stomach churning stuff. Ian Dale, who's a particularly reprehensible creature. Here is Ian telling us that Ukraine has weathered many storms since the illegal Russian invasion. Hey, at full scale, you're supposed to say that, Ian. You got that one wrong. 3 years ago, and he talked about the disgraceful attacks coming from President Trump and others. The UK will stand with Ukraine, whatever the US decides to do. Slava Ukraine. Did he say that? Absolute garbage from Dale. But that's what I would expect from him. And the point of my stream tonight is I'm the opposition to this, right? I am not going with any of this at all. I do say in my bio, I will not comply. I will not conform. I will not accept this psyop that's being pushed relentlessly today. I mean, I saw someone comment, Robbie Starbuck, I think, was commenting on X, that Elon needs to do an investigation into what's happened today, because we are seeing, certainly my X feed is full of pro-Ukraine propaganda. It's incredible, and it's coordinated. It's coordinated. It's synchronized. I wonder who did that. I wonder where the money came from for that to happen as well, actually, for that matter. But yeah, another look at this. I think I put this up with a sick emoji above it. Look at that. We stand with Ukraine, says Keir Starmer, and there's a wreath on the front door of number 10. I thought that wreath was for our democracy, Keir, though. So not sure I'm going along with your you stand with Ukraine. Why are they so? Let's ask a few. Let's bring it back. Go back to first principles. What actually happened 3 years ago today? Well, what happened was the conflict, which had been engineered from 2014 by Obama, Victoria Nuland. Remember all that? The color revolution of 2014. Ever since that was the sort of, it actually happened a bit before that, but that was the main point, right? When this whole thing started to fall into place. And essentially, a Ukrainian president who wasn't overly enthusiastic about the EU was given the boot, and a much more pliable creature was put in place. And in due course, then Zelensky came along. So Neville, I couldn't possibly comment, but some people may well think that. Some people may well think that about all of them. So Zelensky then came along, and all the time NATO were pushing up to the borders of Russia. And then the insanity was in 2021, we had people including Zelensky, talking about, we're going to be going into NATO any day now. We're going to be going into NATO. And he wasn't slapped down for that. Meanwhile, during that whole period, the Russian-speaking people in the Donbass were being terrorized to hell and back. They were being killed, slaughtered by Ukrainian Azov, literal Nazi brigades. Literal Nazi brigades. That was, history didn't begin 3 years ago. History began a lot further back than that. And I can take it back to 2014, certainly, and arguably back to about 2005. But so the situation was that, Zelensky's strutting around in 2021 saying, yeah, we're going to be going into NATO. Yeah, suck it up, Putin. What do you think? And meanwhile, Russians are being killed in the Donbass. What would you have done if you were the Russian president? I can think what I would have done. It would have been a damn sight tougher on Ukraine than that which Vladimir Putin did. Oh, David Vance, you are a Putin apologist. No, I'm not. Because the other thing I said today, and I just put this out there because I think it does explain my position. I regret the fact that Russian invaded Ukraine. I regret the fact that Ukraine and NATO provoked it. I regret the loss of life on all sides. So my position's really clear. I'm anti-war. Come at me if you will. And in this case, the war was just, and this is why they're all out today in force, it's a grift. It's a massive, my producer Jed's called it this frequently. It's a money laundering grift. And my God, the amounts of yes, grift hard three, Neville. Yes, you put it very well. Grift harder, and that's what the thing is. The grift is coming to an end, and that's why today, I mean, they've chosen this anniversary, and they're all there. They're all over the place. Stormer, the EU, von der Leyen, all of them are pledging their undying loyalty to Ukraine and to protecting Ukraine's borders, which is interesting because, for example, Keir Starmer, he won't protect our borders, will he? No, but he will protect Ukraine's borders, even if that means the UK getting into a war, direct war with Russia. He'll do that. So, as I said, this all kicked off in 2022. Now, you'll recall, those of you who followed me, was that between 2020 and 2022, there was another thing going on, wasn't there, called COVID. Now, we better not talk about that because that annoys our good friends on YouTube. But COVID was going on. But by January 2022, wheels were beginning to come off. So the new grift was Ukraine. And now, 3 years on, the wheels have come off it, pretty much. The wheels have come off it. And what's this here? The US. Yeah, this was good. I was delighted about this. And of course, they've been putting motions in the UN, which is worthless anyway. Close the UN down. But the US has voted against Ukraine's UN resolution demanding the withdrawal of Russian troops from Ukraine's border and calling Russian the aggressor. Rightly so, absolutely. Number one, I don't accept that Russia was necessarily the aggressor. I think NATO was the aggressor, right? First thing. Second thing is that territory which Russians have died for over the last 3 years ain't going back. Donald Trump recognizes that. He's a realist. Seems to me that others like Starmer and the EU, they seem to think that, no, we're going to put a resolution through. And what's going to happen is the Russian, Putin's going to have to hand over, Crimea and all those areas in Eastern Donbass. That's things that will never happen. It's never going to happen, right? So I don't know why they do this. I suppose it's the final throw of the dice. It's the final throw of the globalists on this particular grift, which they have been so dedicated to, and it is quite sickening to see it all today. If I saw another tweet from one of my good friends, Field General Julia. If someone goes and checks Julia Hartley Brewer reporting for combat duties, sir, on Talk Radio, Talk TV, whatever the hell it is. One of the stations that bans me anyway. Field Lieutenant General Julia, she was bemoaning the loss of life in Ukraine. Well, yeah, Julia, that's why I opposed the war. That's why you were said, yeah, we gotta go. We gotta give it to Putin. We're gonna teach him a lesson he'll never forget. Well, I reckon there's about 500,000 dead Ukrainians, a generation of Ukrainians, right? I reckon that's a reasonable number. And about the same maybe in Russia as well. But remember, Russia is a much bigger country. Here she is, the Field Marshal herself. This is Julia saying, if the West sends a message that it won't fight, then it's open season for tyrants. So says the Field Marshal herself, who I seem to remember was very prominent during COVID times on issues which we can't discuss, of course, on YouTube. But anyway, this is insane again. She's saying we have to fight. And then she's saying, so many dead young Ukrainian boys. Yeah, because you supported the sending of these young men to their deaths. Here she goes. I mean, young kids in Ukraine being initiated in the military to be sent to the front line. Well, no, not actually being, that's an interesting word, Julia, initiated. What, as you know, in their desperation, because they've run out of human bodies in the Ukrainian forces, they have sort of, not just conscripted in these young kids. Look at the interesting. Just play that again. What's that? That looks like a particular salute I saw then. See the salute again if we can. Amongst these, yeah, there they go. Yeah. Ooh, hey. We're gonna have to paging Calvin Robinson, Calvin, or others who have given the Roman salute. Seems like those Ukrainian lads are up for a bit of the old. I'll not do it. The Roman salute as well. Funny how the media miss that, don't they? But listen, if this all could have been settled back in July 2022. If that had happened, so many lives would have been saved, right? But the West didn't want it to end. NATO didn't want it to end. And who did they send? Well, they sent the prime clown himself, Boris Johnson, post haste over, probably first class, to Kyiv to have a bit of a chinwag with Zelensky, inject a bit of steel in his spine, because they were about to, according to Russia, they were about 24 hours away from doing a deal. Boris went in, told them, don't worry about it, lads, keep fighting, we'll completely support you. And they did. Meanwhile, 500,000 corpses later, we are where we are. Yeah. So Boris Johnson, I commented on this earlier today as well. People are saying, or the media, mainstream media, saying Boris is much loved in Ukraine. Really? He's much loved in Ukraine, is he? What did Boris do in Ukraine? He stopped peace and he pushed for war, and now you've lost a generation of your young men. It's basically 1914 to 1916 all over again in Ukraine. And of course, the deniers will say, "Oh no, the losses have been very modest. Only maybe 4 men and a dog have been killed." And they'll come out with this nonsense, and none of it's true, And that's the thing. I look upon the Ukraine thing as particularly evil. I see it as like a ritual sacrifice. I think the fields of Ukraine run red with blood. I think, as Donald Trump has pointed out, there are human remains scattered all around the eastern fields of the plains of Ukraine. Russian men, Ukrainian men, doesn't matter. None of them should have had to die. That's the consequence of Boris Johnson going in summer 2022 and stopping all of this. Oh yeah, here's another one that I've stuck up. Courage has a name, says, I think it's European Union piece or whatever. Some troll put this up. Oh, courage has a name. Oh, yes. Yeah, the European Commission. Yeah, my God. Courage is a name. Yeah. Well, I think I subtweeted that. My comment is above it, which is the most corrupt country in Europe, has a name. That's quite good. Has a name as well. We know Ukraine's a money launderer. I mean, it's a washing machine. It's a big washing machine with blood in it as well. And what they do is vast sums have gone in, and they go to different places. Some of them go to help kill Russians, but some of them go to enrich Ukrainians as well. Let's be honest about it. The corruption didn't go. The corruption's always been there. That's the whole point in this. It's always been a corrupt state. But then, did you see today? Then Zelensky, because he's such a brave, he's a Churchillian war leader, a man of the stature, even if he's a dwarf, of Winston Churchill. And he said today he will step down from being president if it means that they can bring peace and get into NATO. Or, well, it ain't happening, pal. Doesn't matter how much Ursula von der Leyen and Keir Starmer and the rest of them want to cry about it. They are, yes, it is the biggest laundry mat ever. It absolutely is. They can cry all they want. Ukraine won't be going into NATO. Donald Trump, to my mind, is absolutely clear-minded and strong and on point as regards this issue. There will be a deal with Russia. There'll be a much better relationship between Russia and the US, which is good. And Ukraine will do what it is essentially told. That's what's going to happen to Ukraine. Ukraine doesn't have choices in this. The Europeans can pretend all they want, honestly, and that's all they do. It's all fake with them. They can pretend every day of the week. The fact of the matter is that without the US, Ukraine's gone anyway. It provides most of the 40% of the munitions that go into Ukraine. So if that's pulled, and Trump has threatened to do that, then there's no more fighting. Trump has also said, yeah, I mean, this is the point. Yeah, I mean, so I'm saying, Keir Starmer said today that essentially, Trump is going to have to, come to an arrangement with Ukraine. He's not. And again, I mean, I can't wait for Keir Starmer to meet Trump on Thursday. That'll be interesting. But yeah, I mean, this is the tweet that I put out earlier. Russia was wrong to attack Ukraine. Ukraine was wrong to attack Donbass. NATO was wrong to provoke Russia. The loss of human life is a tragedy. And the girls gaslighting this today, as they all gathered in Kiev, made me feel sick. And as I said, there's been just massive propaganda across X. Have any of you noticed this? I mean, my timeline, if my timeline is representative of any of yours, it's all about, hailing the courage of Zelensky and calling out Donald Trump when they're at it as well, and talking about, oh, we never lived to see the day when the United States government would vote with North Korea. Did you see that? They did that as well. And these are the ultimate grifters. Yeah, I mean, this is Rachel Reeves, Rachel from accounts. So she's taken a few minutes out from bankrupting the UK to tell us that David Lammy, my God, has announced the UK's largest sanctions against Russia since 2022. Strengthening the Ukraine hand will help to build a secure, prosperous Europe and UK. Well, hey, Rachel from accounts, and the Slava Ukraine, comedy gold. Has she looked at the state of the UK economy? Has she? I mean, she should, because she's supposed to be Chancellor. But I mean, no, is not interested in the UK economy, but more focused on the Ukraine economy. The Labour government we have is absolute hell. But anyway, there we have it, my friends. I wanted to give you a bit of an antidote to everything that's come out today. There was no full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine. I'm sorry, it didn't happen. Yes, there's been conflict. Yes, it was all unnecessary. And at this point in time, Donald Trump, I think, in trying to bring peace, is doing absolutely the right thing. And I support him. And I hope that he and Putin can come to an arrangement. I hope that it will be one that can stop the killing and save human life. Now, Russia was protecting Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson. It was, absolutely. I agree with that. Totally agree with that. That's what they were doing. But NATO and the West, they wanted their war. They wanted their distraction, and they've had it for 3 years, and now it's coming to an end. Thank God for that. Thank goodness that human life will be saved on all sides. As I say, I don't want to see anyone lose their life, unlike the European leaders who have been all gathered today in Kiev, bedecked in blue and yellow, and all pledging their undying loyalty to the grift, because that's all it ever has been, an absolute grift. Right. Well, talking of European leaders then, the other thing that you might have noticed over the last couple of days was over in Germany, they had the election. Did you see that? The German election yesterday? And I have covered it over on my Substack, by the way. It's good to go to my Substack where there's lots of good information on this, hopefully. I've written other things as well, mind you. But yeah, so I put an article out over in Substack called Why Boomers Have Essentially Killed Germany. So you should go in. If you haven't signed up to my Substack, go and sign up to the David Vance Substack, and you can read it yourself. But anyway, so we'll look at this in a set. We'll look at a couple of charts in that. But the Germans went to the polls. Now, I think we should look at the results first, because it kind of is interesting. The total results, and the total results in the German election was that I think we should have. No, this is the in within younger people, right? So we'll come back to that in a second. But the total vote was result was poll. The CSU, the Christian Democrats and Christian Socialists, two essentially Merkel's party plus a bunch up in Bavaria. They came in, they topped the poll with 28.5% roughly, right? They came first. In second position came the AFD, the Alternative for Deutschland, which, here we go. Yeah. And yeah, just hold that there in a second, actually, because that's an interesting poll. They came second. Oh, yeah. And you can see the other polls. The bunch of socialists that had been in, they dropped down into third place on 16%. And then the others, you can see the others in there. But you can also see, fascinatingly, that Germany is two countries. I know you could say, oh, no, they're united. But are they? Look at that poll. The blue bit is AFD, and that's Eastern Germany. So Eastern Germany voted massively, comprehensively pro-AFD. And Western Germany, which is the bit obviously in black, well, it voted for more of the same. So I found that a geographical fascination. Is very, 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 you can see it there. It's really precise, the way it worked out. It's actually also worth pointing out. I don't know if we can zoom in a wee bit on the numbers, but apart from the fact that maybe we can't. Yeah. So you can see there what I was saying basically. So the SPD got 16%. That's the lot that had been in power. You can also, and the Greens vote went back because nobody likes what they do. And then there's a party. Did you see? There's 8.8% voted for the left. Well, the left is actually that's the name they give themselves. They're called something like Die Line or whatever. They're basically the East Germany Communist Party. Yeah, actually, East Germany, and actually, Germany is such a mess. It's a hot mess. And I know that the AFD have said we've done really well. We've come second. Next time we went from 10% in 2021 to 20% in 2025. So if you go forward in 4 years, maybe they'll go to 30%. Here's the deal, though. It's not going to be enough. It ain't enough. The way that the German system works is, I'm afraid, it's all about coalitions. And talking of coalitions, so the guy that won, absolute, Friedrich Merz, I think is his name. He's going to be the new chancellor, right? He's going to be the new chancellor, and he had stood against. Yeah, I mean, this is the AFD saying thanks for 20%, and I would say well done, AFD. It's good, but it's not enough. It's not enough, especially when you add all the other parties together, which are roughly the same. That's roughly 80% against 20%. So I'm sorry, it doesn't work. You cannot govern in this way. But it turns out that the guy at the Christian Democrats, CSO, they can't govern either in their own regard. They have to form a coalition. So I saw something that struck me as really quite amazing. And it's this. In the last couple of months, I'm sure you'll have seen there were big stabbing events in Germany where kids have been stabbed, adults have been stabbed, by illegal migrants, right? All of that. And so our friend Merz, leader of the CSU, he said, well, he said that he was gonna give mass deportations a run, and he was gonna shut the border. But now he's saying, no, I never said that. I never said that. And there will not be any closure of the borders. None of us are talking about border closures. In his own words, there it is. The CDU, the leader, the new chancellor. Hail this guy, right? And he is making it clear that what he said on Saturday, he didn't really say it. He didn't really say it. So guess what, Germany? You're going to get more of the same. Now, Ray Burns points out a good point here. He says over on YouTube, the Germans have had decades of brainwashing and guilt trips since the little Austrian painter met his alleged demise. They will continue to suffer atrocities from their uninvited guests, regardless. Well, this is where the boomer bit comes into it. This is it. So if we jump back into my my Substack in this one, it is interesting to when you study the deeper demographics, you can see how what a nightmare it is. So let's bring up. There's two sets of demographics I want to show you. First of all, I want to show you how the older people voted, and I think there is in this. If we just bring this up and scroll down it, I'll stop it when there. Basically, here is the top, the dark one. This is a chart showing how they voted by age group. And all you need to really understand in that is that you see that, look, the 70-year-olds, the real boomers, they overwhelmingly voted for the establishment parties. And actually, to be honest, the ones below that in their 40s and 50s, they weren't much better as well. And that's basically the point that Ray Burns is making here. You've got a media who guilt these people. They guilt them into saying, you better not vote for the AfD because they're far right. I listened to the BBC this morning between 6:30 and 7. They said the term far right about a dozen, every time they said AfD, far right. And that's the BBC. Can you imagine what it was like in Germany? So people are brainwashed into thinking that the AfD are far right. I do not believe the AfD to be far right in any regard. But the boomers, basically, and you can see it there in black and white, comprehensively went for more of the same. And you think to yourself, oh, that's not good. But what about the young people? The young people, as we're saying, well, I've got news for you. Now, this is back to what I was saying, this chart. This is how the 18 to 24-year-olds voted, right? And you can see that Die Linke, the left, got 25% of the vote. The AfD got 20% of the vote, and the CDU. So you can see here, it's quite interesting. The CDU, the SPD, who are didn't do well at all. So in a sense, the establishment parties have been rejected by young people. But the scary bit is the young people, the majority of them, have went for Die Linke, which is the East Germany Communist Party. That's who it is. Full out communists. Now, they probably pretended they're not, but they are. A bit like the Greens, they're communists. They pretend, but there's not a lot of hope there, if you know what I mean. Like, the oldies are voting for more of the same collective punishment, and a significant percentage of the young people are voting for communists. And yes, the AfD did well. As you notice, its share of that demographic at 20% replicates its overall share of the vote. So it's not that young. I've seen some people in the AfD saying they had topped the poll amongst the young people. Don't think that's the case. Actually, don't think that's quite the case. They did well, but Die Linke did better, and they're communist. So there was that. I also saw. I don't know if I stuck it in this article or not. This is just for laughs, right? So the German capital, Berlin. Any of you been in Berlin? I've been in Berlin, and well, Berlin went commie, basically. There you go. 20% voted for Linke, the left. CDU came second. The Greens. I mean, this is a fair. I read a very fair point someone had made about this. People like the Greens and these extreme leftist parties, they do really well in big urban areas. That is what they are. They're the Green Party. They have no vote in the countryside, but they have a decent vote in the center of urban Berlin, along with Die Linke. So there we go. So I'm afraid I put it somewhat less politely on Twitter, but it's a bleep show in Germany, and I don't see any way back. And also worth pointing out that our friend, it's just not good. It's not good. Have a read of the article if you want a bit more content. Do check out my Substack there. I've tried to put a lot of information in it for you. Why boomers kill Germany? Yeah, strange. German guilt. It's a strange thing. Also, the guy that is now going to be the next chancellor, Friedrich Merz, He's an interesting guy. He had been in politics, right? And then he stepped out of politics. He challenged Merkel, you see, to become leader. He lost, and he didn't like that. So he went off to do something else. Can you guess what he did? Can you guess where he went to? Oh yeah, BlackRock. He went to BlackRock. Isn't it a bit of a shocker that I never seen that one coming? So someone who's been marinated in BlackRock is now going, hello there, Mrs. Brexit, I think. Good to see you. Thanks for being here, Jackie. And salty Republican. As I always say, let me get this straight. The German Conservative Party that won are similar to a Rhino GOP. No, they're worse. No, they're much worse than that Republican rocker. This is why Donald Trump, now I agree with like nearly everything Donald Trump says, but he put out an ill-informed tweet on this. Oh yeah, he said, you want to get some interesting demographics? I stuck that up. You might find that interesting on my X platform as well. No, the party that has won in Germany is essentially full-on globalist, left wing, open borders, net zero, insane stuff. Republican rocker, insane stuff. And to me, you see, the question is, can Germany be saved? I have to say, people like Jetty Vance, people like Elon Musk, they did their very best, and the AfD did really good. But I got to wonder about the electoral integrity of these countries. You know, I do wonder about just how free are we? You know, just how free are we? But either which way you cut it, it doesn't matter. Germany has got mass migration issues. It's got an economy that's been in recession for 2 years. 2 years. Now, to me, that's a good thing, because the Germans are the central economic engine of the European Union. So if you want to destroy the European Union, you destroy Germany. Well, it turns out Germany's destroying itself. And now you're going to see much more of that. So yes, Republican rocker, it's a bad situation. That's why I wanted to come on and do this, because I see a lot of speculation, and it's like, certainly outside of Europe, people don't understand that this is not really a change of government. It's more of the same. Jackie, they're not conservatives. They are fake conservatives. But never mind that. Even if you say no, the conservatives have one. The Christian Democrats are conservative. Angela Merkel, who opened the gates of hell, she was a conservative, right? To form a government in Germany, you've got to have about 350 seats. The CSU haven't got that, so they have to go into the coalition. And so the coalition that they're going into, that they will go into, is with the SPD. Now get this, folks, because this is truth. The SPD are the bunch that's just been kicked out of government. Olaf Scholz and his lot. They've been kicked out of government because they're absolutely crap. Now the new lot will form a coalition with them. And to form that coalition, that's why they have to give up, and they've done it already. Look, we're not going to worry about closing our borders. We will welcome refugees. We will commit to net zero. This is managed European decay. That's what we're witnessing, managed European decay. And at the end of the day, you know, I think this is the template for all European countries that can't, because of the nature of votes, because it's just proportional representation. Take Austria. I mean, I was in Austria back in December. Austria, the Austrian AfD topped the polls in Austria last September, right? Just think about this. They actually topped the poll. They're not in government. Do you know why they're not in government? Because no one else will go into government with them. You'd have to top the poll with about 51% of the vote. And in a PR system, you can't get to that. It's pretty much impossible. So that's why it doesn't work. You know, so actually, people should have understood that what happened in Austria happens in Germany. I seem to remember a historical echo from that, but absolutely. So the Austrians can't get their folks into government, and by the same token, the AfD aren't going back into government as well. Yes, Jackie, the Christian Democrats in the Germany are essentially like our Tory party, pretending to be conservative but liberals. Absolutely infiltrated by Nick Clegg's. Absolutely. We have fake. I saw Kemi Badenoch pushing out a post earlier today. We stand by Ukraine. Oh, Kemi, I was so moved. Honestly, I was so moved when you said that. That changed everything for me. But yeah, so there you have it. I mean, that is the yeah. Germany voted for yeah. But more of the same. You see, that's it, folks. Like that's the shrine. Let's see that in the top picture there. That's for people who had been killed. I think it was kids that had been killed by one of the new visitors to Germany. And when you have a vote like that, the vote is for more of the same. And I don't know about you. I've got to be honest. I try to be as honest as I can. You know, I should be more diplomatic. But honestly, I'm all out of proverbials for Germany. They deserve all they get. And I know it's not the AfD's fault, but at the end of the day, if 80% or thereabouts of Germans are voting for continuity destruction, why should I be upset? I don't want to see anyone die, obviously, but you know what I'm trying to say. Um, Jackie says to me, what do you think the end game is after the decline of Europe? Well, that's a whole different show in itself, Jackie. That is a really good first-rate question. What is the end game? I don't think I would be able to put it out on YouTube, the end game, but it's not going to be pleasant. And this is just another example of, you're allowed to vote, but things have to stay the same. It's a bit like last summer, people voted for Labour. Labour have come in. And I mean, are they much worse than the Tories? Sort of, yeah, a bit. So a bit, which actually brings me on to the final thing I wanna actually talk about. But it is more or less the same thing. It's managed decline. It's continuity chaos. That's what we have in Europe. That's why I look across and envy. I'm sure some of you must feel like me. I look across to what's happening in the States. And I'm so envious of everything, especially Elon Musk telling everyone in the federal government, you've got to send in an email by midnight, I think tonight or US time, detailing your major achievements from last week. Did you see that one? And they were horrified. Oh my God. He's asked us, yes, Jackie, basically you're right. He's asked us to tell our boss what we did last week. How on earth can we possibly do that? And it turns out that some of them have been doing some spicy things from some of the leaks that I've been looking at, and don't think it's to do with their work. So I've loved this. I love seeing Elon making the U.S. government employees work, actually demonstrate that they're worth their job. That's what should happen in the UK. That should happen in the UK civil service as well. They should all be sent an email saying, Monday morning, 9 a.m., tell us 5 concrete achievements you made last week. If you haven't responded, you're sacked. And if you have responded, we're going to check every one of them to see if you're actually working. That's what we should do in the UK. This is how thanks, Charlotte. Good to see you. That's how you transform stuff. So I look across to the US and think, yet again, I was born in the wrong country, Can I have sanctuary to my namesake, Jetty Vance? Would you please rescue me? Because I can see the US going from strength to strength, but I can see the UK going to hell in a handcart, and I don't know how we stop it, But well, we can obviously vote for reform and maybe try and change things. We'll talk about that in subsequent podcasts. But the last thing I wanted to talk to you about, Jackie said, sorry, the judges are stopping Elon from having access. Yeah, sack the judges, impeach the judges. We're gonna what I loved about Donald Trump. There's so many things. Yes, this really irritated me. This is the point, Jackie. FBI staff were told by Kash Patel to ignore Elon Musk's request to list their achievements. Now, I don't know why Kash did that, if that be true. I mean, it can't be 100% sure because it's mainstream media. But Elon's right. And any department that doesn't do what he says, I think we could pick. I don't know what our friend Republican Rocker thinks about this, but I'm 100% with Elon Musk in terms of making government employees demonstrate that they're doing a job. I heard Donald Trump being interviewed about it today, and Trump was saying, yeah, one of the reasons we sent that out is because Elon had said, get this, if you haven't responded to the email by today, we will assume that that's your resignation. But Trump also made the point, or maybe you're dead. And this is it's almost inconceivable, this, folks. But it's like there are people on the federal payroll in the States who are dead, long dead, dog who dead, maybe 50 years. There's still money going out, or seemingly anyway. So I support Elon Musk's. And yes, salty Republican, these judges are self-incriminating, exposing their corruption. Yeah, and a lot of that's truth. I think Donald Trump is exposing them in so many different ways. And yes, some of it is 3D chess, I think, or 5D chess, whatever dimension you want to talk about. And I just, for all that there, hope that Donald Trump and JD Vance succeed. And I think, Jackie, that might be something that might help save us. So I don't think the UK is beyond salvation. I don't think we are completely lost, right? So there's a bit of positivity from me, but we need a lot of work. Now, talking of things, there was one thing I wanted to finish to leave you on, and this brings it right back home here to the UK. Stick with me, American listeners or viewers as well. So there was a Labour MP. I don't know if we got the tweet there. Yeah, this is a Labour MP in action. He's the guy punch. I wonder if we can bring it up and let everyone see this. This absolute. Yeah, bring it up. Boom, 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 boom. This is the Labour MP attacking his committee. Look, there he goes. 1 punch, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's his constituent on the ground, Mike Amesbury. There he goes. There's our Mike. Couple of nice juicy punches, to be fair. I'm a big fan of boxing, has to be said. But I'm not sure that MPs should be boxing their constituents. Am I old-fashioned? Probably am. But I don't think you should be allowed to hit you. Especially as the guy was on the ground, for God's sake. But anyway, Amesbury was up in court today. And this is the thing, I wanted to talk about. So he's been jailed. He's been sent to prison. Former Labour MP, because Stormer had to quickly distance himself for 10 weeks for punching a constituent. Meanwhile, Lucy Connolly, that's the lady on the right there, she wrote a spicy post on X, and she got 2 years, 7 months. And that's my point. That's my point. That's why Britain's broken, right? Yes, Jackie, Peter Lynch, who sadly killed himself, got 2 years and 8 months for protesting with a banner. Absolutely right. So that guy, Amesbury, that former Labour MP, he's going to be out. If he's got 10 weeks, he'll be out in about 4 or 5. Yeah. Meanwhile, Tommy Robinson's, by the way, he's been locked up for an seemingly endless amount of time. So it's absolute hypocrisy. You know what I mean? I mean, whenever they say, look, you can't say we've got two-tier justice. That's you saw it, two-tier justice. An MP actually attacks and punches a constituent on the ground who he disagreed with. And it's video. If it hadn't been videoed, it probably wouldn't have been anything happened. But the video evidence is damning. So he's been sent down for 10 weeks. Now, there's a couple of things about that, just to follow this thought right the way through. So he's going to be in jail for at least a month, right? And has been pointed out, well, you can't really be an MP representing your constituents and be in prison, can you? So what we need is a by-election, don't we? And I was looking at this, some of the figures in this. It's quite interesting. And if this by-election was held in this particular constituency, which I think is Cheshire, or some part of Cheshire. Anyway, Cheshire. What am I saying? Anyway, then Labour would just about squeak it, right? They'd get their guy in, but Reform would be a very close second. But if the Tories didn't stand, Reform would win. So my challenge to Kemi Badenoch and the rest of them is simple. If this by-election is called, you've got no chance of winning it. You're down in third place. You can't win it. Reform are only 6 points behind Labour in the polls, meaning that if the Tories stepped down, Reform would get in, and they would have then 6 MPs. And Cheshire, Charlotte, Cheshire, housewives of Cheshire. Um, I'd love to see Reform get another MP just for the hell of it. I mean, I like to see them get another 100 MPs again, just for the hell of it, to annoy the system. But when you see that and that MP, getting away with 10 weeks for physically attacking, and he could have given that guy brain injury. He could have done all kinds, so terrible consequences could have had. But instead of that, the judge. Oh, we love our judges in the UK, don't we? You think about some of the salty Republicans, some of the judges in the States, some of the judges we have in the UK. I've got questions. I'll put it no more strongly than that. I've got big questions. But he gets 10 weeks, and these other people, like that lady, Lucy Connolly, like Peter Lynch, they got two plus years, 2.5 years. It's wrong. It's so wrong. I believe that we should all be equal under the law. I honestly do believe that. And I think we should all be subject under the law. I believe in the rule of law, but that means equity and fairness. So 10 weeks? No. 10 weeks for that Labour MP? No, it's not. No. 10 months, maybe. 2 years. Last August, September, the going rate for a Facebook meme was about 2.5 years. So explain that to me. Explain that to me. 2.5 years because you said something that hurt somebody's feelings on Facebook, and that the government didn't like as well. And oh, by the way, final thing before I go, so I'll just move on very quickly. Very last thing, talking about the government not knowing things. I don't know about you folks, but I've been into Apple, Apple phones, Macs, all that stuff since the beginning. I've been an early adopter of Apple. But did you see that the UK government said to Apple, we want a backdoor? Yeah, I stuck this again, my Substack, check it out, Rotten Apple. And this was the background here. The UK government had said to Apple, we want a backdoor into everybody's iCloud, everybody in the world's iCloud. And Apple said, no, you're not getting that. But what we'll do is we'll take away, advanced data protection, ADP, for the UK. So, which has happened and is happening. So what that means is all these, if you use, which I do, notes and photos and wallet passes and all these platforms on Apple, this is now highly hackable as far as I can best understand. And the government can obviously get its juicy paws on it as well. Now, I've sort of said, look, if you want to come and look at if you want to Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper, if you want to come and snoop over my photos, I've just got photos of family and friends. There's nothing on my iPhone that I'm even remotely ashamed of. Happy about it all, right? But you have no damn right to intrude into my affairs. You have no right to see anything, and not my just affairs, but your affairs and everybody else. I think in the UK, there's something like 35 million iPhones, just iPhones alone, right? Those 35 million people have been sold out by Apple because they're responsible, because they caved. But it was a British government that forced it. And again, a really good point's being made here. Some people have said, right, we're going off to Android. Question: how do you know Android, A, haven't already done it, or B, are so easily hackable that the government doesn't have to worry about their end-to-end encryption? I mean, there's other platforms like Signal on WhatsApp and all, and I'm sure the British government also wants to get into them as well. And they dress up this egregious invasion into our privacy as, oh, we're fighting for child protection. It's all about protecting our children. It's all about that. That's what they say. And ultimately, I mean, this is where you end up basically in a vast digitalized prison. The government saying, we're doing it to protect the kids. Sorry if it means we have to take away your privacy. Now, the UK, get this, the UK is the only country in the world that I know of where Apple's operating where this exists. So that's why, to finish off on, When Keir Starmer stood up at the Labour Party conference in Glasgow yesterday and talked about reform, the Reform Party, they're far-right extremists and they constitute a threat to the UK. It's not reform that opened up the borders. It's not reform that refuses to deport. It's not reform who's snooping into our phones, into our MacBooks, into our technology. It's not the reform that's doing that. Yeah, I agree with Ray actually here. He says Android software is all under the control of Google, and Google's just total cancer anyway. So yeah, that's why one reason I don't use Google. But it just does show how under Starmer the UK is moving more and more totalitarian. We've talked about people being locked up for a spicy meme, 2.5 years because you criticize the government on Facebook. And then the government now, it wants to see everything that's on your iPhone. We want to have a look. If we get a warrant, we're going to come and we're going to have a look. So, I just think this is how the UK is sliding into a kind of, as Jeddy Vance talked about this, a lot of the US values come from here to there, but the values are dying here. So that's why I started off talking about Germany and how the values are dying there, but they're dying here too, because these establishment parties are basically undertaking our freedom and our rights. So all I would say is that, I try not to align, as you know, with any particular party, but what I would say is I absolutely despise the Uni Party and all its manifestations. And so if something else, be it reform or whatever, can come along and give us something better, then I will support that. And I would welcome that, because we're in a fight to the very end here for our freedoms. And, I really, someone says to me, David, listen to Dr. Shiva talk about media and back. Oh yes, I'm sure Dr. Shiva knows well about that. And as you know, I have had it done. I've had him on a show with me. Yeah, I mean, my assumption is that the government's always listening. Just FYI, is that too cynical? I don't think it is. My assumption is the government can probably always get into what it wants to, and but then I've always figured, but it doesn't matter, because it's not like I'm secretly saying things that I don't say publicly. God help anyone who knows me privately, but I'm the same off camera as I am on camera, right? So it's no different. It's not like there's a secret agenda in the background. It's the same. I'm being honest, and I try to be as honest as I can. I'm sort of truthful in what I think about stuff. And that's why, as I said today, I wanted to come to the camera to say that it's not a full-scale war in Ukraine. It never was. It's just a psyop. I think that Germany is basically bleeped. And I think that Jed agrees with Ray regarding Android being under the control of Google, and that gives you a 3-letter solution. And I think that in the UK here, our freedoms have never been under greater threat than since this Starmer regime came to power. And we will keep calling it out here, folks. We will not step down. That's not going to be the way we do it. We keep stepping up, and hopefully that's fine by you guys. So, oh yes, sorry, Jed says, Jed can confirm that I am the same off camera as I am on camera. No real difference, So that's why I don't care about Starmer, snooping. Well, I do care. Yvette Cooper snooping through my family photographs. I don't want her doing that. Right to do that. No, we need to have a revolution in this country, my friends. It's overdue. It's building. Just to finish off, if you haven't, as I said, signed up with Substack, please do. There's loads of good stuff over there, David Vance Substack. Today we've got Why Does the Left Betray Women? And then one we daren't mention about COVID. I better not talk about that when I'm on YouTube. I've got one there about the US. Should the US leave NATO? I mean, it's my usual stuff. Oh, a particular one, by the way. This was a good one. Bonnie Blue, the PSYOP where porn and IVF collide. It's done really well, actually. If you want my eccentric collection of thoughts, you'll get them over there. You'll get them on my daily podcast. You'll get them on my X, and you'll get them here on a Monday night on this, and a Thursday night when we do our live pod bean show. So look, folks, that is it from me. David, just final question. David, do you think the popular revolution happening in the US could ever spread to Europe? I think that it's been pointed out earlier on. It depends how successful Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are. If they really clean house in the States, if they can clean house in the States, there's a possibility that that will encourage, say, Nigel Farage and other people in that camp to be bolder and be more sort of more Trumpian. That's what I want to see. So I don't totally rule it out, you know. So on that positive note, before I go dark, like the background, I will thank you so much for being here with me tonight. And don't forget all the podcasts tomorrow. Check out the Substacks tomorrow, and see you soon. Thanks for being here tonight. Good night.